London is living its ordinary, restless life, unaware that this is the last normal day it will ever know. In just a few months, half of the people walking through its markets and narrow lanes today will be gone forever. But this morning still feels calm, almost safe. Death has not yet crossed the city's threshold, and no one can sense the danger in the air. The Thames glimmers at dawn like molten silver, catching the first light of the rising sun. Thick morning fog drifts slowly over the water, blurring the outlines of ferry boats as they glide silently from bank to bank. Oars cut softly through the river, and boatmen murmur to one another in the cool air, trading bits of news and rumor. Above the thatched rooftops rises a deep, solemn hum as dozens of church bells begin the day. Their sound spreads across the city, from St. Mary Le Bow to St. Bride's. The air is heavy and close, thick with the smell of wood smoke, horse dung, and damp river mud. This is the scent of a city that does not yet know it is about to become a mass grave. Within the old Roman walls and beyond them in Southwark, nearly 50,000 souls are crowded together. Everyone believes London will stand forever because it has survived fires, wars, and chaos before. Narrow streets, squeezed between houses of timber and mud packed with straw, stretch beneath the towering spire of old St. Paul's Cathedral. That spire feels like a symbol of permanence. The maze of alleys and courtyards is still alive with movement and noise, and the clock of this world has not yet begun its final countdown. Billingsgate Wharf wakes before the rest of the city, because trade never sleeps. The docks are already crowded, and the noise is so loud it feels as if London itself is speaking in 1,000 voices at once. Sailors from France, Flanders, and the German lands shout orders and curses in their own tongues. Heavy wooden cranes groan as they lift bales of wool, the true wealth of England and the foundation of the kingdom's entire economy. This wool pays for the endless wars of King Edward III, and it is the reason ships keep returning to the dark, muddy Thames. The ground is dangerously slick. The wharf is coated in fish scales, grease, and river slime, and one careless step can send a man into the cold water below. Italian merchants dressed in fine cloth argue fiercely with dock workers who do not understand a word of Italian, but understand perfectly well the weight of gold. A laborer who hauls these heavy loads all day earns only 2 or 3 pennies. It is barely enough for coarse bread and a mug of cheap ale after hours of exhausting work. Near the water's edge, a sailor from a ship out of Calais whispers about the plague in France. He speaks of people who fall ill and die within 3 days, their bodies marked by black spots and swollen lumps. His words are swallowed by the noise of the docks. Sailors always bring terrifying stories, and no one believes that such a disaster could reach this busy, prosperous port. Cheapside unfolds as the main artery of London's market life. Here the city shows itself in all its chaotic power. The streets are so narrow, and the upper floors of the houses jut out so far that neighbors can pass a cup of wine across the alley without ever stepping outside. Painted wooden signs hang everywhere, because most people cannot read. A boot, a loaf of bread, or a blacksmith's knife on a chain tells each passerby what is being sold. Thick black mud squelches underfoot, swallowing the wheels of carts and the hooves of horses. The smell is a harsh blend of food, waste, and human sweat. A baker's wife haggles angrily with a flour merchant as the price of grain climbs because of war and failed harvests. A chicken costs a full penny, and salted fish is becoming a luxury for ordinary people. Near the edge of the market, A crowd jeers at a thief locked into wooden stocks. His head and hands are held in place for public shame, and every passerby feels entitled to throw a rotten vegetable or shout an insult. This is what justice looks like here: swift, loud, and merciless. Heavy leather buckets hang on every corner, because the city lives in fear of fire, knowing that dry wood and straw roofs can ignite from a single spark. A town crier pushes through the crowd, announcing new taxes to fund the war in France. People grumble, but they pay, trusting that London will endure, just as it always has. In the shadow of St. Paul's Cathedral, the world feels different. This is where the people who run the city live. The houses have stone ground floors and even real glass windows, a rare luxury in 14th century London. Inside the home of a wealthy wool merchant, the air smells of beeswax and imported spices. The family gathers for the main meal of the day. Roasted pork steams on the table, fresh white bread lies beside it, and wine from Gascony glints in the light. A letter from Bruges reports that entire villages in Flanders are being emptied by the plague, and that trade is beginning to stall. The news brings a moment of unease, but it is quickly pushed aside. Disease is thought to belong to filthy ports and to the poor in their hovels, not to people who live in stone houses. Sumptuary laws strictly control what clothing may be worn and which furs belong to each rank. The social order feels as solid and permanent as the gray walls of the cathedral, even though the coming sickness will spare neither wealth nor status. Beyond London Bridge lies Southwark, a place outside the city walls and beyond the reach of the law. The stench of open drains and overflowing cesspits makes the air almost impossible to breathe. In the cramped rooms of crowded tenements, entire families sleep on filthy straw, crawling with insects. Illness is a normal part of life here. Dysentery and typhus claim people every day, and no one keeps count of the dead. Inside a tavern, men gamble wildly over dice. Knives flash in the dim light until the keeper restores order with a heavy club. In a doorway, a woman coughs painfully into a rag soaked with blood. No one looks twice, because in Southwark, death is never far away. The city depends on this place, yet pretends it does not exist. St. Bartholomew's Hospital is filled with the smell of incense and damp stone. Monks treat the sick with prayers and herbal poultices. They do not know that disease passes from person to person. So they burn incense, believing the sharp smoke will cleanse the foul air. In the great stone hall, patients lie side by side on straw pallets. A carpenter with shattered bones, a fevered woman, and a child whose skin has begun to darken all share the same space. Wounds are washed with water that is used again and again, unknowingly spreading more infection. A dying sailor raves about piles of bodies in Calais and about how no one is left to bury the dead. His words are taken as a distant tragedy, something that seems far removed from the quiet flow of the Thames. The sun sets, and the shadow of the Tower of London stretches across the city. Inside the fortress, royal clerks continue counting money and recording accounts, because war runs on gold and parchment. A messenger from Dover arrives with news of plague in the southern ports. Crown officials debate whether the harbors should be closed, but trade is the lifeblood of London. To stop the ships would mean starvation, so the decision is delayed. It will prove fatal. The curfew bell begins to toll. Night falls over the city, black and impenetrable. There are no lights except for the occasional torches of the watch. Doors are bolted shut, and families gather around their hearths,
lighting tallow candles that smell of burning fat. The Thames flows past, indifferent to human fate. London falls asleep for the last time in its old form.
This day survives in tax rolls, coroner's records, and monastic chronicles. From them, it is possible to reconstruct the price of bread, the cut of clothing, and even the smells of Cheapside. But what the people of London felt on that evening can never be known. Within a few months, these busy streets will fall silent. Half of the city will vanish into mass graves beyond the walls. But today, London is still alive, loud, filthy, and filled with both hope and greed. And that is why this summer day will be remembered forever as the last normal day. A tragedy no one living through it was able to see coming.